I don't see how the Queen, who was described by Harry as vicious in his book, by Harry in the Apple interviews, can forgive him. I mean, he'd have to eat so much humble pie.
Royal biographer Tom Bower just dropped what might be the most explosive revelation in modern royal history. And the fallout? Prince Harry is reportedly spiraling out of control while Meghan Markle deploys an army of lawyers in full panic mode. This isn't about another palace feud or a Netflix deal gone wrong. This cuts far deeper. We're talking about questions that strike at the very heart of the Sussex brand. Questions about Archie and Lilibet themselves. Have you ever wondered why Prince Harry and Meghan Markle guard their children's privacy so fiercely? Why there are barely any photos? Why the timelines around their births never quite added up? Why the royal family seems to keep such a cold distance from these grandchildren? Tom Bower has theories, and they're not theories you can easily dismiss. The man behind the investigation. Before we dive into the chaos, let's understand who's making these claims. Tom Bower isn't some tabloid gossip columnist chasing clicks. He's a respected investigative biographer known for uncovering uncomfortable truths about powerful people. Truths they desperately wanted to keep hidden. I choose people who don't want to be written about, whose lives are shrouded in mystery and they want to hide their secrets, Bower explains. And I just love digging away to find out what they don't want us to know. His previous royal biography about Prince Charles was a #1 bestseller that detailed Charles's rehabilitation after Diana's death and Camilla's journey to acceptance. When it comes to royal secrets, Bower has a proven track record. And that's exactly what makes his latest claims so impossible to ignore. When Meghan Markle entered the royal scene, Bower saw a story waiting to be told. But here's what made his investigation particularly challenging. I spoke to very few friends of Meghan because she put a fatwa on anyone talking to me, who she could. I sent off dozens and dozens of emails to her friends, and most of them didn't even reply. The wall of silence around Meghan should have been his first red flag, because when someone works that hard to control the narrative, you have to ask yourself, what exactly are they hiding? The claims that started the firestorm. So what exactly did Tom Bower reveal? According to his investigation, the circumstances surrounding both Archie and Lilibet's births are surrounded by inconsistencies, fabrications, and what he calls a complete cover-up. Let's start with Archie. Remember when Meghan was supposedly going to give birth at the prestigious Portland hospital? Bower claims she never intended to go there at all. She planned a home birth. But here's where it gets murky. We know that they deceived the public about the birth date and time of the whole event, Bower states bluntly. Think about that for a moment. Why would anyone lie about when a baby was born? What possible reason could justify that kind of deception? Then there's the hospital photo op that never happened. Every royal birth in recent memory has followed a certain protocol. Proud parents emerging from the hospital, baby wrapped in a blanket, photographers snapping away. It's tradition. It's expected. It's what the public anticipates. But with Archie? Nothing. No hospital steps photo. No clear timeline. Just vague statements and carefully controlled images released days later. The whole description she gave of the Portland hospital, the birth, that was completely fabricated, Bower alleges. We all know Harry and Meghan Markle's surrogacy scandal has entered the mainstream media domain. Surrogacy. That's the word that's been whispered in royal circles for years. And now Bower has said it out loud, backed by his investigation. Why this matters more than you think. You might be thinking, so what if they used a surrogate? Lots of families do. Why is this a scandal? Here's why it matters, and why it matters deeply when it comes to the British monarchy. The royal line of succession isn't just ceremonial, it's constitutional. It's woven into the legal fabric of multiple nations. For a child to have a legitimate claim to titles, to be in the line of succession, to potentially one day inherit the throne, They must be born of the body of a legitimate descendant of the royal line. This isn't some outdated rule that can be brushed aside. This is fundamental constitutional law that has governed the British monarchy for centuries. As one royal commentator bluntly put it, if she hasn't had the children herself or Harry hasn't been involved, then they can't be in the royal line. They have to have royal blood, those little ones. Without that, there's no chance of them becoming a member of the royal family. Do you see the stakes now? This isn't just about privacy or personal choice. If Tom Bower's allegations are true, and if biological parentage isn't what Harry and Meghan have claimed, then we're looking at children who have been given titles they may not legally be entitled to hold. And that's not a small matter. That's a constitutional crisis. The pregnancy that raised eyebrows. Let's talk about those pregnancy photos. Because once you start looking closely, really closely, things start to feel off. Social media erupted during Meghan's pregnancy with Archie. People noticed the bump seemed to change size dramatically from one appearance to the next. Sometimes it appeared large and pronounced. Other times it seemed smaller or positioned differently. There were moments caught on camera where the bump appeared to shift or even fold in ways that a pregnant belly simply doesn't move. These weren't blurry paparazzi shots. These were official royal engagements with professional photographers present. People think her kids are fake. They think they're AI, one observer noted, referring to the AI generation speculation that has grown in recent years. But the concerns predate AI technology. They started with those pregnancy appearance inconsistencies. Then there's the famous moment when Meghan crouched down in high heels during her pregnancy, folding completely at the waist in a way that would be virtually impossible for a woman in her third trimester. Obstetricians watching that footage expressed professional skepticism. That's simply not how pregnant bodies move at that stage. Were these just unfortunate camera angles, unflattering clothing choices, or was something else going on? The birth announcements that didn't add up. When Archie was born, the announcement was bizarre by royal standards. The timeline was confusing, the location unclear, the official statements contradictory. First, we were told Meghan was in labor. Then hours passed with no update. Then suddenly, Archie had already been born, hours earlier than anyone realized. Compare this to Kate Middleton's births, where the public was informed in real time. The Duchess has been admitted to the hospital. The Duchess has given birth. The Duke and Duchess will appear on the hospital steps. Everything transparent. Everything following protocol. With Meghan and Harry, radio silence followed by confusion, followed by carefully staged photos days after the fact. We know they deceived the public about the birth date and time, Bower insists. There was a complete cover-up over the birth of Prince Archie. And if they lied about something as basic as when and where a child was born, what else haven't they been honest about? The Lilibet mystery deepens. If Archie's birth raised questions, Lilibet's arrival only intensified them. This time, there was even less information provided to the public. Lilibet was supposedly born in California, far from the scrutiny of the British press and royal protocols. No hospital name was provided. No birth certificate was made public initially. No doctors went on record. Just a statement. Lily is named after her great-grandmother, Her Majesty the Queen, whose family nickname is Lilibet. That naming choice alone caused controversy. Reports suggested that Queen Elizabeth II was not consulted or pleased about her intensely personal family nickname being used. Palace sources pushed back against the Sussexes' claim that they had the Queen's blessing. But beyond the naming drama, there's a larger question. Why so much secrecy around the birth of a child who is seventh in line to the British throne? Meghan released a statement on Lilibet's 4th birthday saying, "Happy birthday to our beautiful girl. 4 years ago today, she came into our lives, and the day is brighter and better because of it. Sweet words, but notice what's missing? Any substantial proof of the child's existence beyond carefully curated, often blurry photos where the child's face is conveniently obscured. The royal family's deafening silence. Here's one of the most telling aspects of this entire situation: the complete absence of the Sussex children from royal family life. Think about Prince William and Kate's children, George, Charlotte, and Louis. We've seen them countless times with King Charles, Queen Camilla, and before her death, Queen Elizabeth II. Trooping the Colour, Christmas at Sandringham, Easter services, Jubilee celebrations. There's a clear, documented relationship between William's children and their royal relatives. Dozens of photos, hundreds of public moments, an obvious, warm family bond. Now think about Archie and Lilibet. Have you ever seen a photo of them with King Charles? With Camilla? With William and Kate? With any senior royal? The answer is no. And that's not because Harry and Meghan live in California. It's because even before they left Britain, even when they were still working royals, these family moments never seemed to happen. Queen Elizabeth II, who lived to meet both Sussex children, was never photographed with either of them. Not once. Not at a christening. Not at a birthday. Not at any family gathering. King Charles, who is supposedly the grandfather of these children, has no documented relationship with them whatsoever. Does this seem strange to you? Because it should. One royal insider posed the question directly. Is this just a coincidence? Or did the palace choose distance on purpose? Either way, the silence says everything. The palace's refusal to embrace these grandchildren publicly speaks volumes. It suggests that perhaps the royal family knows something, or suspects something, that hasn't been made public. Harry's unraveling. The impact of Tom Bower's revelations on Prince Harry has been, by all accounts, devastating. Reports from Montecito paint a disturbing picture. Harry is allegedly obsessed with media coverage, spending hours online reading articles, watching YouTube videos, tracking social media discussions about his children. Friends say he's unraveling, according to sources close to the situation. Pacing rooms, snapping at staff, spiraling into conspiracies, and barely sleeping. This is the same man who positioned himself as a mental health advocate. The therapy prince who spoke openly about his struggles and encouraged others to seek help. Yet now he appears to be coming apart at the seams under the weight of questions he refuses to answer. The irony is painful. Harry has blamed the media for nearly every problem in his life. For his mother's death, for his relationship struggles, for his decision to leave royal life. But the current crisis isn't caused by media invention. It's caused by his own choices, his own secrecy, his own refusal to provide basic transparency. During a recent interview, Harry said something particularly revealing. "I can't see a world in which I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK at this point. The things that they're going to miss is, well, everything." But is it really about safety? Or is there another reason Harry doesn't want to bring his children to Britain? A country where their birth certificates, hospital records, and biological origins could potentially be investigated or questioned. He loved the adulation. Tom Bower observes about Harry's earlier years. He loved it when he was being praised, especially when he was a soldier. But then he became criticized. Firstly, because he became drunk in public. Bower's psychological assessment of Harry is harsh but arguably accurate. He's not very intelligent and undoubtedly remains damaged by the early death of his mother, Diana. He very foolishly blames the media for her death, which is complete nonsense. Perhaps Harry's inability to cope with the current scrutiny stems from deeper issues: unresolved trauma, limited critical thinking skills, and a tendency to blame external forces rather than confront uncomfortable truths. Meghan's calculated response. While Harry spirals, Meghan Markle has taken a very different approach: cold, calculated, strategic. Reports indicate she's assembled a legal team that's working around the clock, sending cease and desist letters, threatening lawsuits, and attempting to silence critics through intimidation. But here's the problem with that strategy. Legal threats don't erase legitimate questions. If anything, they amplify suspicion. When someone responds to allegations not with evidence but with lawyers, people naturally ask, what are they trying to hide? That has always been her motive, Bauer says bluntly. She's money-obsessed and always has been. And that is why she married Prince Harry. According to Bauer's research, Meghan was deeply disappointed to discover that Harry had far less wealth than she imagined. She imagined he'd be worth hundreds of millions, if not billions, and she's having to make up for it now. This financial pressure may explain the Netflix deals, the Spotify contract, now cancelled, the memoir, and the constant monetization of their royal connection, the very thing they claim to want to escape. But it also raises questions about motivation. If Meghan married Harry for wealth and status, might she have been willing to take extraordinary measures to secure her position? Measures that involved, perhaps, the appearance of biological children who could cement her place in the royal lineage. Meghan is using everything for publicity, and not really truly there, one commentator noted. We know how she treats her family and friends. Indeed, Meghan's estrangement from nearly her entire family, her father, her half-siblings, her childhood friends, creates a pattern of severed relationships that's hard to ignore. People who won't play by her rules get cut off. People who might reveal uncomfortable truths get silenced. The Oprah interview revisited. Remember the bombshell Oprah interview? The moment that was supposed to be Harry and Meghan's truth-telling, their chance to set the record straight? Let's revisit one particular exchange with new eyes. Meghan claimed there were concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born regarding Archie. This accusation of racism within the royal family made global headlines. But Tom Bauer's research reveals a very different version of events. According to Bauer, the conversation happened early in Harry and Meghan's relationship, before engagement, before marriage, certainly before pregnancy. Harry was at Clarence's house with then Prince Charles and Camilla. Camilla just laughingly says, "But any child you'll have will probably have brown skin and ginger hair," Bauer recounts. And they all laugh, including Harry. It's not because of racism. It's just one of those things everybody imagines when somebody is pregnant close to you. You wonder what the child will look like. This was not, according to Bauer, an expression of concern or racism. It was an innocent, speculative comment about genetics that any family might make. And Harry reportedly laughed along at the time. So why did Meghan reframe this innocent conversation as evidence of royal racism? Why did she weaponize what was apparently a casual, harmless comment? Watch Meghan's body language during that portion of the Oprah interview. As one analyst noted, the body language just showed her discomfort as she dug deeper into her own hole. She's clearly uncomfortable. She hedges. She's vague about details. It's the behavior of someone who knows they're stretching truth but has committed to the narrative. If Meghan was willing to misrepresent that conversation so dramatically, what else might she have been less than truthful about? The surrogacy question. Let's address the elephant in the room directly. Surrogacy. There is nothing inherently wrong with surrogacy. Many loving families are built through surrogacy and other assisted reproductive methods. It's a personal medical choice that deserves respect and privacy. But, and this is crucial, if Harry and Meghan used a surrogate, that's information the public and the royal family have a right to know. Not because it's shameful, but because of the constitutional implications we discussed earlier. The British monarchy operates under strict rules of succession. For a child to be in the line of succession, legitimate birth from the body of a royal descendant is typically required. These aren't arbitrary rules. They're constitutional protections developed over centuries to ensure clear, undisputed succession. If Archie and Lilibet were born via surrogate, they would likely not be eligible for their current positions in the line of succession or for the titles they currently hold. This isn't about judging anyone's reproductive choices. This is about legal and constitutional accuracy. As one royal commentator put it bluntly, Meghan and Harry are not entitled to privacy in this matter. Their privacy is trumped by our right to know that no person without proper lineage is going to sit on the throne of this country. The statement continues, "All Harry and Meghan need to do is prove to us that she delivered those babies, and that's all they need to do. And if they don't, it is unfair on the children. It's also unfair on the royal family." This isn't cruelty. This is constitutional necessity. The evidence that won't go away. Let's look at the circumstantial evidence that keeps this story alive. The pregnancy timeline inconsistencies. Meghan announced her pregnancy at Princess Eugenie's wedding, a move many considered inappropriate timing. But the dates she gave for conception, announcement, and birth never quite aligned with the visible progression of her pregnancy. The bump controversies. Multiple instances where the pregnancy bump appeared to shift, change size dramatically between appearances, or move in physically impossible ways. The hospital confusion. The conflicting statements about where Archie was born, when he was born, and who was present. The missing medical professionals. No doctors or midwives have ever been named or interviewed about either birth. Highly unusual for royal births. The christening photos. Official photos that royal photography experts noted appeared heavily edited, with several observers pointing out technical anomalies. The lack of pregnancy glow. Obstetricians noted that Meghan showed none of the typical physical changes of late pregnancy. No swelling, no change in facial features, no difficulty with movement or balance. The too perfect recovery. Meghan appeared in public days after Archie's birth looking impossibly put together, with no signs of recent childbirth that medical professionals would normally expect. The hidden children. Years later, remarkably few photos of either child exist, and those that do are often blurry, backlit, or obscured. Any single one of these observations could be explained away. But taken together, they form a pattern that's difficult to dismiss. The financial motive. Let's talk about money, because ultimately, that may be what this is really about. Harry and Meghan's lifestyle is extraordinarily expensive. The Montecito mansion, the private security, the private jets, the designer wardrobes, the staff. All of this requires enormous ongoing revenue. When they left the royal family, they lost the financial support that came with being working royals. They needed to become financially independent, and they needed to do it quickly. Their value in the marketplace was entirely dependent on their royal connection and their compelling narrative. They needed to be interesting. They needed to be sympathetic. They needed to be worthy of multi-million-dollar deals. Having royal children, biological heirs in the line of succession, significantly increases that value. They need the money, and they need it now more than ever because they've got no other source of income. Tom Bower observes, they're stuck with the devil now. They're tied to Netflix. They're tied to their book. All the criticism they're going to take means nothing because that's the only way they can earn their money. The Netflix deal, the book deals, the speaking engagements, all of it depends on maintaining their royal mystique. And children who are genuine members of the royal family are a crucial part of that mystique. If those children aren't biologically theirs, or weren't born in the traditional way, the entire brand collapses. The call for DNA testing. The question being asked with increasing frequency across social media, in royal circles, and even in mainstream media is simple. Will Harry and Meghan agree to DNA testing? The very idea sounds absurd. The notion that we would question the parentage of children is deeply uncomfortable. It feels invasive, cruel even. But when those children hold titles based on lineage, when they're in the line of succession to multiple thrones, when constitutional questions hang in the balance, the calculus changes. All they need to do is prove it, supporters of DNA testing argue. One simple test would end all speculation. If there's nothing to hide, why not just do it? The Sussex response? Silence, lawyers, threats, but never transparency. And that silence is becoming increasingly damaging. Because in the court of public opinion, silence increasingly looks like guilt. Every day they refuse to provide clarity is another day the suspicion grows. Every legal threat they issue makes people more convinced they're hiding something. Every carefully curated photo that obscures, rather than reveals, only deepens the mystery. A DNA test would be simple. It would be definitive. It would end the speculation instantly, if the results were what Harry and Meghan claim they would be. So why won't they do it? The palace's strategic distance. The royal family's handling of this situation speaks volumes. They've maintained almost complete silence about the Sussex children. No warm photos with the grandchildren. No public birthday wishes, beyond the most formal statements. No inclusion in family events. No visible relationship at all. Compare this to how the palace treats William and Kate's children. The warmth is obvious. The pride is evident. The family bonds are on public display. The contrast is so stark it can't be accidental. Insiders suggest the palace has been advised to maintain distance to protect the institution. If Tom Bower's allegations prove true, any show of acceptance or embrace of the Sussex children could backfire catastrophically. Charles was told to keep his distance because even a small show of support could blow up if these rumors turn out to be true, one source revealed. The monarchy is apparently preparing for multiple scenarios. Behind closed doors, constitutional experts are quietly discussing succession implications, legal ramifications, and potential title revocations. The fact that these conversations are happening at all, that the palace is gaming out scenarios where Archie and Lilibet might be removed from the line of succession, tells you everything about how seriously these questions are being taken. This isn't paranoid conspiracy theorizing. This is the royal institution protecting itself from potential constitutional crisis. Harry's impossible position. Try for a moment to see this from Harry's perspective. He's built his entire post-royal identity around being a father. Fatherhood is his redemption narrative. It's what gave his life meaning after the trauma of losing his mother and the struggles of royal life. From the Oprah interview to the Netflix series to every public statement, Harry has emphasized that being Archie and Lilibet's father is what matters most to him. Now that fundamental identity is being questioned. The legitimacy of his fatherhood is being debated globally. If he is, in fact, the biological father and the children were born naturally. Imagine how painful these accusations must be. The violation, the anger, the desire to protect his children from baseless speculation. But if there's truth to the allegations, if he knows his children came into the world through methods that might disqualify them from royal lineage, then he's caught in an impossible trap. He can't admit the truth without destroying everything, but he can't convincingly deny it without providing proof. No wonder reports suggest he's unraveling. This is a no-win situation. He very foolishly blames the media for everything, Bower notes. But he became criticized firstly because he became drunk in public, then he wore a Nazi uniform at a party, Then he was photographed nude in Las Vegas. He couldn't cope with the criticism because, in his view, he is a target. Harry has always struggled with accountability. He prefers to see himself as a victim of circumstance rather than the author of his own problems. But this crisis can't be blamed on anyone else. If he and Meghan had been transparent from the beginning, none of this speculation would exist. The hypocrisy factor. Here's what makes this situation particularly galling for many observers: the staggering hypocrisy. Harry and Meghan built their brand on authenticity, transparency, and breaking free from royal constraints. They promised to live their truth. They criticized the royal family for being fake, for caring too much about image, for hiding behind protocol. Their entire narrative was, we're different, we're real, we're honest, we're willing to share our truth even when it's uncomfortable. And yet, when it comes to the most basic questions about their children, they offer nothing but secrecy, legal threats, and obfuscation. They made millions from a Netflix docuseries that claimed to pull back the curtain on their lives. But somehow, their children, the most important part of their lives by their own account, remain almost completely hidden? They went on Oprah and discussed intimate family conversations, accused the royal family of racism, and shared details about mental health struggles. But they won't release a birth certificate or allow their children to be photographed clearly. The cognitive dissonance is stunning. You can't build a brand on radical honesty and then refuse to answer legitimate questions. You can't monetize your royal connection while hiding the very evidence that legitimizes that connection. People feel deceived, and they have every right to. The children at the center. Throughout this entire debacle, there are two innocent victims: Archie and Lilibet themselves. Regardless of the circumstances of their birth, regardless of biological parentage, these are children who deserve stability, privacy, and protection. They didn't choose to be born into this circus. They didn't ask to be at the center of constitutional questions and international speculation. If Harry and Meghan truly wanted to protect their children, transparency, not secrecy, is the answer. Clear up the questions definitively, and their children could grow up without this cloud hanging over them. Instead, by maintaining this wall of silence, they're ensuring that Archie and Lilibet will spend their entire lives with people questioning their legitimacy. That's not protection, that's cruelty. It's unfair on the children, one commentator noted. They deserve to know the truth. They deserve to grow up without this constant speculation. If there's surrogacy or other assisted reproduction involved, that's a beautiful story that should be shared with pride, not hidden in shame. Many children born through surrogacy grow up healthy, happy, and secure in their family's love. But the secrecy creates the appearance of something shameful. And that's a burden these children will carry their entire lives unless their parents choose transparency. The broader impact on the monarchy. This scandal, if it continues to grow, could have implications far beyond just Harry and Meghan. The British monarchy has survived for over 1,000 years by adapting to changing times while maintaining certain core principles. One of those principles is the clear, documented lineage of succession. If questions about bloodline and legitimacy become entrenched in public consciousness, it undermines one of the monarchy's fundamental sources of authority. The institution has already weathered significant storms in recent years: Andrew's scandal, Harry and Meghan's departure, accusations of racism, questions about relevance in modern society. A constitutional crisis over succession and biological legitimacy could be the blow that fundamentally weakens public support for the monarchy itself. King Charles, who waited his entire life to become king, finds himself in an impossible position. These are allegedly his grandchildren. But embracing them publicly could backfire spectacularly if the allegations prove true. William, next in line to the throne, has apparently chosen to maintain complete distance from the Sussex children. No photos together. No public interaction. A clear message that the future of the monarchy doesn't include them. The institution is quietly preparing for the possibility that Archie and Lilibet may need to be removed from the line of succession. That's not speculation. That's reportedly happening behind closed doors at the palace. The monarchy is protecting itself, which tells you how serious the palace believes this threat to be. Tom Bower's track record. Let's return to Tom Bower for a moment, because his credibility is central to whether these allegations gain further traction. Bower has written unauthorized biographies of numerous powerful figures: Robert Maxwell, Mohammed Al-Fayed, Conrad Black, Simon Cowell, and more. His books are meticulously researched and often reveal uncomfortable truths. His royal biography on Prince Charles revealed details about Charles and Camilla's relationship that the palace would have preferred remain private. But the book was well received because it was thoroughly researched and largely accurate. When Meghan Markle entered the scene, Bower immediately recognized a compelling subject. "I just thought this is fascinating. How is this going to play out?" His resulting book on Meghan revealed patterns of behavior: cut-off family members, severed friendships, careful image management that many found troubling. "Most of her friends didn't even reply to my emails," Bower recounts. "She put a fatwa on anyone talking to me." But he found sources. He pieced together a narrative. And many of his claims have since been corroborated by other reporting. So when Bower says the whole description she gave of the Portland hospital birth was completely fabricated, he's not just guessing. He's investigated. He's talked to people. He's built a case. That doesn't make him automatically right, but it makes him impossible to dismiss. "You can't beat the real story," Bower says. "That's the excitement of writing these books. In the end, nothing beats the truth, the real facts." Where do you stand? So here we are, years into this saga with more questions than answers. Tom Bower has laid out his case. The evidence, circumstantial but substantial, continues to mount. The palace maintains its distance. Harry reportedly spirals while Meghan lawyers up. And two young children sit at the center of it all, their entire identities called into question by adults who should be protecting them. Do you believe Tom Bower's allegations? Do you think Harry and Meghan have been honest about their children? Should they submit to DNA testing to end the speculation? Or do you believe this is a witch hunt, motivated by racism and misogyny, targeting a couple who simply want privacy for their family? The truth matters, not just because of titles and succession, though those are important constitutionally, but because children deserve to grow up knowing their true story, whatever that story is. Harry and Meghan have a choice. They can continue hiding behind lawyers and threats and carefully curated photos. Or they can do what they once claimed to champion: tell their truth, the whole truth, not the carefully edited, monetized version, the actual truth. Think about what we know for certain. The pregnancy timelines were inconsistent, the birth announcements were confusing, the hospital story changed multiple times. The children have been kept almost completely hidden. The royal family maintains unprecedented distance. And now Tom Bower, a biographer with a proven track record, is alleging outright fabrication. These aren't conspiracy theories from random internet trolls. These are documented inconsistencies that deserve explanation. The question isn't whether people have the right to ask. The question is whether Harry and Meghan have the courage to answer. What's your take? Have Harry and Meghan been victims of unfair speculation, or are they architects of their own crisis? Should the monarchy demand proof before allowing titles and succession positions? Does the public have a right to know the truth about children in the royal line? Share your thoughts in the comments. This isn't just royal gossip. This is a constitutional question that could reshape the monarchy itself.